Palantir just stepped on its brakes today. Price declined big time today. The atmosphere just shifted immediately. Donald Trump and Alex Karp just shook the whole market. Crazy speculations are everywhere. Analysts are dropping their last warnings. However, there's something you need to know. And this might just be the light at the end of the tunnel. Will Palantir recover? Or will it continue to bleed? And what on earth am I even talking about? Well, let me explain. Disclaimer. Today was a wild ride for Palantir, but in a not-so-good way. The stock just took a beating, dropping hard to $108 per share before crawling back up to $112 right before the market closed. And that's a shocker because just days ago, Palantir was on fire, breaking all-time highs like it was nothing. It felt unstoppable. But now, totally different story. The mood flipped fast. Investors are rattled, some are panicking, and others are just sitting there trying to figure out what's next. Some people are already selling, while others are just watching, wondering what this sudden drop really means. So yeah, you might be wondering, what the heck just happened? Why did Palantir's price take such a massive hit? Turns out, today was full of bombshells that sent shockwaves through the market. First, a big announcement from Trump rattled investors. He wants the Pentagon to start cutting its budget by a hefty chunk every year for the next 5 years. That's a huge deal, especially for a company like Palantir, which makes a good portion of its money from defense contracts. And if that wasn't enough, another surprise hit. Palantir's CEO, Alex Karp, just revealed a new stock trading plan that lets him sell nearly 10 million shares over the next few months. Investors didn't take that news lightly, and the stock tanked, dropping as much as 12% at one point. By the end of the day, it closed at around $112, down by 10%. And after hours, the selling didn't stop. Just days ago, Palantir was one of the hottest stocks out there, soaring to insane highs. It's been a top performer for years, climbing nearly 50% this year alone. But with the Pentagon facing major budget cuts and the CEO preparing to offload millions of shares, the mood has completely shifted. Oh, and there's more. Since stepping back into office, Trump has been on a mission to slash government spending and cut down the number of federal employees. And guess who's leading that effort? None other than Elon Musk, heading up something called the Department of Government Efficiency. The move has been controversial, with lawsuits already piling up against some of the strategies being used. Karp, for his part, jumped in to defend Musk, saying on CNBC that instead of criticizing him, people should be having a real conversation about what he's doing and how he's doing it. But clearly, the market wasn't in the mood for conversations today. It reacted fast, and Palantir's stock paid the price. But here's the twist. Not everyone thinks these headlines are the real reason Palantir's stock took a nosedive. One analyst pointed out that this was bound to happen sooner or later because, in his words, the bubble just burst. According to him, this sell-off has nothing to do with Alex Karp cashing out or the Pentagon tightening its budget. Palantir was simply the most overvalued stock in the market. No matter how you looked at it, price, earnings, growth, it was way overpriced. And when a stock is sitting that high on shaky ground, it only takes the slightest push to send it tumbling. For weeks, he warned about managing risk, saying Palantir was walking a fine line. And today, that line snapped. Investors who had been riding the wave now have a tough job ahead, trying to prove there's still strength left in the stock. But this analyst isn't buying it. Literally. Even if Palantir dropped by half from its peak at $124, he still wouldn't jump back in. To him, this wasn't just a dip, it was the inevitable. And here's where things get even weirder. One analyst is straight up questioning if something shady went down today. He's pointing at some suspicious trading activity and wondering if there was price manipulation at play. Here's why. Palantir tanked about 10% today after the news of Karp's massive stock sale and the Pentagon's budget cut plans. But before all that news even broke, something strange happened. Someone made a huge bet against Palantir. Early in the morning, there was a sudden flood of activity in Palantir put options. In just 5 minutes, traders poured more than $500,000 into contracts betting that the stock would drop below $120. And guess what? That trade paid off big time. The price of those contracts skyrocketed, turning what could have been a few $100,000 into a return of more than double. Coincidence? Maybe. But the timing is just a little too perfect. Unusual, to say the least. But wait, hold on a second. Whatever's happening right now might not be all bad for Palantir. In fact, this whole situation could actually set it up for a major comeback. Surprisingly, A lot of people in the community are fired up about this drop. Instead of panicking, they see it as the perfect chance to grab more shares at a discount, believing it could lead to even bigger profits down the road. To them, this isn't a disaster. It's an opportunity. And one analyst laid out a completely different way of looking at all this. First off, even after today's dip, Palantir is still way up this year. Stocks don't just go straight up forever. They need to take a breather sometimes. Then there's the Pentagon budget cut. He's not even sure how much that actually impacts Palantir, and honestly, it looks like Wall Street didn't know either. Their first instinct? Sell now, figure it out later. As for Karp selling shares, he pointed out that this was already in Palantir's filings. This isn't some shocking, out-of-nowhere move. Plenty of big-name CEOs sell their shares all the time. It's just what happens when you've spent years building a company. But when you mix that news with the Pentagon headlines, it was enough to send people rushing for the exits. At the end of the day, maybe the market was just looking for an excuse to take profits. Palantir has been on an insane run, and some investors might have just needed a reason to cash out. The sudden drop definitely shook people up, but if you've been holding Palantir for a while, it's hard to be too upset. At least, that's how this analyst sees it. And here's a wild thought. What if this whole cost-cutting move is actually good news for Palantir? One analyst threw out a totally different perspective. If the government is looking to cut costs, wouldn't Palantir be one of the best tools to make that happen? Their entire business is built on using AI and data to make operations more efficient, not just in defense, but across multiple government agencies. So instead of this being bad news, what if it's actually the opposite? What if Palantir ends up being the go-to solution for a government trying to do more with less? If that's the case, this whole situation might not be bearish at all. It could be the setup for something huge. And maybe, just maybe, this is all happening because the market still doesn't fully get what Palantir is really about. One Wall Street analyst pointed this out, saying this sell-off feels like just another attempt by the bears to poke holes in a game-changing AI company that's only getting stronger. In his view, the push for government efficiency, whether it's through budget cuts or this whole new Department of Government Efficiency plan, actually plays right into Palantir's strengths. He sees it as a company built for moments like this, especially with its deep ties in Washington. So while some investors are panicking, he thinks they might just be missing the bigger picture. And when people finally realize that these budget cuts aren't actually hurting Palantir, we could see this entire drop flip overnight. The panic selling today? It might just be a temporary shakeout. Stocks move in waves, and when the market corrects itself, Palantir could easily recover, wiping out today's losses and maybe even pushing to new all-time highs. This wouldn't be the first time we've seen a strong stock take a hit only to come roaring back even stronger. But the real key here isn't just what happens in the next day or week. It's about the bigger picture. And when you zoom out, there's really no reason to be worried. One analyst summed it up perfectly. If a pullback like this is making you panic, then you're not thinking like a long-term investor. We are still in the early stages of what Palantir is building, and moments like this are just bumps in the road, not the end of the journey. Palantir's AI and data-driven technology are becoming more essential by the day. Governments, businesses, and industries are realizing that they need smarter, more efficient systems to operate in a rapidly changing world. And if the focus right now is on cutting costs and optimizing budgets, wouldn't that actually make Palantir's solutions even more valuable? This company was built to help organizations do more with less, and if the government is serious about efficiency, then Palantir is positioned to benefit in a big way. Look at where Palantir has been over the past few years. The company has proven itself time and time again, growing its influence, expanding its reach, and showing that it's not just another tech stock, it's something different. The short-term volatility might shake out some weak hands, but for those who see the bigger picture, nothing has changed. Unless you needed to cash out right now, there's no reason to stress. This drop isn't a sign of weakness, it's just part of the market cycle. And if history tells us anything, it's that moments like this often set the stage for the next big move. Palantir is still on track, still pushing forward, and if anything, this moment might just prove how strong its future really is. But what is your opinion on this? Comment down below. If you are curious to find more, then make sure to click on one of the videos you see on the screen. And with that, we come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed the video, then turn on the notifications bell on this channel. Missing an important Palantir update might make you lose money, so don't risk it. Also, please share this video with as many people as possible. Let's get this news out there.